All right, let's move on. Jeffrey Epstein's list, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeffrey Epstein documents. The names of several people connected to him were unsealed Wednesday. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katurski is here with the follow-up. Good morning, Aaron.
George, good morning to you. The first 40 of about 275 previously secret documents have been released now. And while much of what's in them has been known before, they do...
Okay, I have to read this. Sorry. Hamas is like Hoscord, overwhelmingly unpopular, but some people might think it's okay. ISIS is like the Splinter Discord. Absolutely no one outside of them care what they say. That is... That's insane. What an analogy, dude. This community is out of control. All right. We're doing the damn thing.
Contains some new details about an old groping accusation against Prince Andrew and an effort to depose former President Bill Clinton. This morning, newly unsealed court records reinforce the association of presidents, even the king of pop, with Jeffrey Epstein.
There's like very few new names that have come out of this, and I guess like one of them is Michael Jackson mentioned, and then the line about Bill Clinton liking him young. And then you just it's all the same old.
Who killed himself in a New York City jail while awaiting trial. The documents were part of a long-settled defamation lawsuit one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre, filed against his former paramour, Ghislaine Maxwell. The documents include arguments by Giuffre's lawyers, who sought testimony from former President Bill Clinton, calling him a key person who can provide information about his close relationship with Maxwell and Mr. Epstein. Giuffre never accused Clinton of wrongdoing, but claimed she had dinner with him on Epstein's private Caribbean island. Maxwell called that a lie, and the documents show her attorneys said each and every part of plaintiff's claims regarding President Clinton has conclusively been proven false. Clinton was never deposed. After Epstein's arrest, his spokesman denied Clinton was ever on the island. After Giuffre's allegations became public, the documents also show Epstein emailed Maxwell seeming to offer advice. You can issue a reward to any of Virginia's friends, acquaintances, family that come forward and help prove her allegations are false. The strongest is the Clinton dinner. Giuffre claims she was a teen sex slave for Epstein and directed by him and Maxwell to have sex with powerful men, as she described in a 2019 interview with the Miami Herald.
The training started immediately. How to be quiet, be subservient, give Jeffrey what he wants. A lot of this training came from Ghislaine herself.
Giuffre claimed Epstein ordered her to have sex on 3 occasions with Britain's Prince Andrew, which he has denied. He said he could not recall meeting her, and he told the BBC this photo of the two of them could be fake.
I have absolutely no memory of that.
Okay, I'm sorry, but this is an abdication of the journalistic responsibility. To cover these issues on uncertain terms, such as this one, is absolutely unimaginably bad. Okay? Like, this interview was roundly and understandably criticized by everyone that laid eyes on it. Why is the American media making it seem as though this is like, well, here is what the possible mass pedophile rapist said? Like, there's no circumstance where you, in the American media, would ever act like you bought a fraction of what Prince Andrew brought forward in this conversation. It was so bad that the freaking Queen herself basically said, no, you're done. You're done, Prince Andrew, and then croaked, okay? That's insane. Why is ABC News taking up a position that is seemingly more on Prince Andrew's side than the former Queen of England?
That photograph ever being taken.
Andrew settled a lawsuit with Giuffre in 2022. The documents include testimony from Johanna Sjoberg, one of Epstein's accusers.
It feels like American news is just so willing and able and ready to always capitulate to power. Like, they just unconditionally are just like, whoever has the maximum amount of power in this situation, in this dynamic, like rape victim versus rapist, I'm siding with the rapist. Like, that's how they operate.
Who said she was seated next to Giuffre at Epstein's New York City mansion when Andrew groped her breast. But when asked, do you have any knowledge about whether Virginia is telling the truth about whether Ghislaine Maxwell directed her to have sex with Prince Andrew, Sjoberg answered, no, only based on what I've read in the media. When asked about meeting other famous people, she said she met...
This unironically makes it seem like this is the most pro-Prince Andrew mainstream coverage I've ever seen. And I don't think British media would allow this to happen even. Like, British media is also incredibly cucked to the royals, but even the British media itself destroyed Prince Andrew's. So it blows my mind that the American media is taking a position that is more royalist than the British media. Those guys have, like, actual beat reporters, okay? They have actual beat reporters that specifically cover the royal family, okay? We don't. We kind of fought a whole war to never have to do such a thing and not be cucked under the Commonwealth in the same way that Canada is or Australia is, right? So what is happening? Where is this willingness coming from?
Michael Jackson at Epstein's house in Palm Beach. And when she was asked, did you ever massage Donald Trump? Sjoberg responded, no. There are more documents to come later today. Giuffre's lawyer has said the public has rightly demanded to know how Epstein operated his vast global sex trafficking enterprise and got away with it for so long. George?
Okay, Aaron, thanks. Let's bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. Dan, case settled in 2017. Why are the documents coming out now?
Long-standing legal fight over whether these names should be released. I mean, a lot of this information has been out, right? The question was, who's who in connection with the information? Remember, typically, legal documents are public, right? The presumption is when you file something in a court of law, it's public. There are exceptions, though, when it comes to cases involving children or sexual assault. This case had a little bit of all of that. And so there have been legal battles where the judge basically said to any of the people identified, if you want to challenge your name being made public, tell me why. You can.
Yes, as a chatter also correctly repeated the age-old cliche that I always bring up at the Hasanabi broadcast. A journalist's responsibility in a situation is not to look at one side that says it's raining and the other side that's saying it's not raining. A journalist's responsibility isn't to just say, here are what the two sides are saying. A journalist's responsibility is to open the window and cop a feel, take a look, and tell you if it's raining or not. Cop a feel of the rain.
Challenge it. 16 people did that. Some of them were successful, others were not. But the judge gave everyone an opportunity to say, I want to keep my name out of this, but you got to have a reason for it.
Yeah, not everyone fought it, though.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? I think for a lot of these high-profile people, there was a cost-benefit analysis, right? Which is the sense of, this is probably going to be made public anyway. Maybe I'm going to lose this anyway. Is it really worth my being seen as having fought it if it's going to be made public anyway?
Oh, that makes some sense right there. Finally, do you think there are any chance that charges could come from this?
I think it's very unlikely. I mean, look, there's a lot of quote-unquote new information coming out, but it's not new to the authorities, right? It's new to us, the public. For the first time, we're seeing the names behind what is alleged here, but the people involved, the lawyers involved, the authorities have all known this information. It's just that the public is learning for the first time some of the names behind the various things that are alleged to have happened in connection with a civil lawsuit, again, that happened a long time ago.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for...
RFK did not fight it. He actually personally was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be outed, so I'm just going to get ahead of this and reveal it myself.
Never before seen court documents related to the case against Jeffrey Epstein. Hundreds of pages were unsealed last night from a civil suit involving Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. They include names of people not accused of wrongdoing and at least one former Epstein employee facing new allegations. Nancy Chen has that story.
Former President Bill Clinton and Britain's Prince Andrew are two of Jeffrey Epstein's most high-profile associates publicly named in the more than 900 pages of mostly unredacted documents released Wednesday. In a 2016 deposition that wasn't unsealed until yesterday, accuser Johanna Schoberg says she was with Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Virginia Giuffre in 2001 when she met Prince Andrew at the millionaire's Manhattan home. She told attorneys that when they were taking a photo, I sat on Andrew's lap and Andrew put his hand on my breast. Giuffre previously said she was forced by Maxwell and Epstein to have...
Okay, there's weirder stuff in that the media is not bringing up. What is this? Alina Habba on the portrait of Bill Clinton in a blue dress hung in the Epstein residence. You put a picture like that in your entryway of a former president. What's that saying? That's a power play saying, I own you. Wait, why is Alina Habba
What's going on with this?
on the Patrick Bet David podcast? This is Donald Trump's RGB lawyer, okay, with a gamer laptop. Why is she on the Patrick Bet David podcast, dude? Saying that's a fake photo is crazy. No. That is a real photo. It's disputed whether or not it was in Jeffrey Epstein's home. I like to believe it was. She should be more worried about making sure she has the appropriate paperwork for her clients than going on the Patrick Bet David podcast, okay? What's going on? Pointing out the Clintons were tight with Epstein is Russian propaganda, shaking my head. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess call me the Kremlin then, okay? Call me a Kremlin operative because I am definitely saying that.
sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17. He denied those allegations and told the BBC in 2019 that he didn't know Giuffre.
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
You don't remember meeting her?
No.
They settled a lawsuit out of court in 2022. While the documents help flesh out what many have known about Epstein for years.
That's crazy. Both ABC and CBS Mornings running like kind of pro Prince Andrew coverage is wild. Very odd.
It's unlikely that the revealed names will lead to more legal action. For example, later in her deposition, Schoberg discussed former President Bill Clinton. She did not accuse him of any wrongdoing, but said that Epstein told her one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. Schoberg also said she had dinner with magician David Copperfield, who was not accused of any wrongdoing, at Epstein's home. She said the star asked her if I was aware that girls were getting paid to find other girls, but testified he told her no specifics about that. Also included in the documents are new details about former Epstein employee Sarah Kellen. Throughout the court records, she's alleged to...
No, Stephen Hawking is on the list, but and he did actually he did take the Lolita Express. He did go to the island, but no, the stripped midgets trying to solve complex math problems on a blackboard that was too high is fake. Oh my God. Guys, that was a meme.
Have directed payments to certain women, scheduled massages for Epstein, and met with alleged victims at his home.
CBS News has reached out to Prince Andrew and Sarah Kellen about the allegations in these documents and to Bill Clinton and David Copperfield. We have not yet heard back. But Buckingham Palace previously told the BBC Schoberg's accusations that Prince Andrew groped her were, quote, categorically untrue. In 2019, the former president's spokesperson said Clinton knew nothing about Epstein's crimes. And in 2020, a representative for Sarah Kellen told CBS News that Kellen...
Yeah, that's so crazy. They must have not known anything about the crimes. Except, Ghislaine Maxwell was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Prominently placed in the middle, too.
Herself was a victim of Epstein. She knows the pain he caused and deeply regrets having any part in it. Jerika?
Nancy Chen, thank you.
That's crazy. All right.
Joining us now to talk about the implications of these documents is CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman. Always good to see you, Ricky. First and foremost, what is your biggest takeaway from the release of these documents, and are we looking at any further legal action as a result?
The biggest takeaway is that many, many names are out there. But these names really are of innocent people. It's people who may have been employed. It's people who may have gone to dinner or to a cocktail party.
Stephen Hawking was there for a science conference. Epstein did a ton of philanthropy work in science. And him associating with Epstein doesn't necessarily mean he knew about or took part in anything terrible, but it's a possibility. It absolutely is a possibility, apparently, for Stephen Hawking in particular, because my man was a bit of a horn dog. I didn't know that at all. But it turns out he was a horn dog. With a thick 8. I can't. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell made a special submarine for Stephen Hawking.
Jeffrey Epstein's home. It is not necessarily naming people who have engaged in actions that were anything like the deplorable actions of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Like Bruce Willis and DiCaprio are only mentioned in the court proceedings because Jeffrey Epstein apparently used to flex to the girls that were giving him massages, like to the victims, right? About knowing Leonardo DiCaprio or talking to Leonardo DiCaprio. But there isn't any like direct involvement with Leonardo DiCaprio or Bruce Willis too. That's the difference. Like a lot of people hear a name being mentioned in a court document and think like, oh, this guy went to the island or whatever. And then there are also, of course, the other type of misinformation, which is just irrelevant random celebrities you don't like, or irrelevant random celebrities you do like that you associate with Epstein, even though they were not mentioned at all, or even though they were literally like 10 years old at the time these specifically these documents are looking at. And it's very strange that people do it. Like people were saying Miley Cyrus and all these other people were like involved when that's certainly not the case. You know, she was, I think, 7 years old at the point. That would make her a victim. So no matter how much you want to believe a particular person was involved, you know, like I'm seeing people in the chat saying, well, Leo's definitely a pedophile, so he was 100% involved. It's like, no, well, you can't make that accusation without solid evidence. And currently, as it stands, there isn't solid evidence.
Well, I think that one of the people most happy on the planet as a result of this big dump of documents has to be Alan Dershowitz, who has begged for these documents, filed for these documents to show that he was innocent. Bill Clinton made no objection to these documents being released. Probably the most unhappy person about all of this is Prince Andrew.
And when speaking about Prince Andrew, as you know, he settled in 2022, but without any wrongdoing. Do you think there's anything in these documents that you've seen so far that could be problematic for him moving forward?
Him considering 25-year-old women too old is pretty telling. Yeah, it's pretty telling that he's creepy. Okay? It's not pretty telling that he is a pedophile. I'm sorry. There's a difference. Okay? Please, let's not do this. It's ridiculous, okay? There is still a difference between someone who is creepy and someone who is a criminal. I don't know why people do the arbitrary nature of age of consent laws in the opposite direction. Depending on your politics, the more left you go, the more you say arbitrary nature of age of consent laws because they should be actually up to like 25. Okay, the more right you go, the lower you want to make that arbitrary age of consent law, where you go, age ain't nothing but a number. Let's lower it. Very odd. Please stop.
I think that it's always problematic for Prince Andrew as well as the royal family to have all of
The lack of Alan Dershowitz mentions in here is alarming to me in America.
this brought up again. And you know that the tabloid press in Britain will pick this all up. And again, we'll go back through Prince Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and these young women, really girls.
Actually, the difference between creepy and pedophiles, how much I like your Twitter post. Yeah. Yeah, leftists want it to be 25, libertarians want it to be 15, or even younger, actually.
Under the age of 17. The fact that you have yet another victim who has...
You're an arbitrary age of consent law centrist? That would make me the opposite of arbitrary age of consent law. I'm saying age of consent is 18, truther. I'm an age of consent is not arbitrary. I am a truther on the age of consent. Okay.
Has come forward. This is in a deposition that took place way back, but now it's out there again that he had put his hand on the breast of an underage woman. That does not help Prince Andrew in his rehabilitation of his image. Do I expect further legal process? I really don't. It's too late for that.
Again, more names to come. Ricky Kleeman.
All right, let's get to the real legend, okay? The Dersh, who had phenomenal sound bites. Now, Alan Dershowitz is a tenured Harvard professor, a plagiarizer whose first wife died under mysterious circumstances, which he was not charged for, and also an enemy of Norm Finkelstein and the greatest defender of Israel. He's written a book defending the state of Israel. And not only has he consistently defended Israel, but he actually is supposed to be defending Israel in the International Court of Justice. Okay? So just remember that. As far as I know, the Dersh is not teaching, but as a professor emeritus title. Yes, he used to be a tenured professor. Now he's a professor emeritus. Yes, ironically, a lot of his book is plagiarized. Like, he is a serial plagiarizer of false information, which is what is really funny. Not only did he plagiarize a lot, but he also happened to plagiarize completely inaccurate information, which is the reason why he hates Norm Finkelstein, because Norm Finkelstein actually first ripped the original book into pieces and then ripped Alan Dershowitz for plagiarizing from a book that he had already ripped to pieces. So, just important in the context to talk about with respect to like Harvard professors that withstand scrutiny for plagiarism.
Joining us now, Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor, you are mentioned in this document. You are mentioned repeatedly and very specifically. It was the allegation against you was that Epstein forced then minor Jane Doe number 3 to have sexual relations with you, and that also you were an eyewitness to sexual abuse of other minors by Epstein. You have...
Remember, this is the, if you are queer around kids, whether you're a teacher or just in public, you're automatically grooming channel, okay? Fox News regularly claims being gay or being a Democrat or just like being queer in general means you're a pedophile groomer, okay? So when they actually have the guy who successfully represented a pedophile groomer, like a literal pedophile groomer to the elite, who worked with the elite, and his greatest ally, and never offer him a shred. Last stream you said you didn't care about the plagiarism, but now, question mark? Yes, I only care about plagiarism for my enemies, okay? Is that better? Is that something you want to hear from my mouth? My point is, everybody plagiarizes in college. It's just being utilized against people you don't like. And when people you don't like that are in positions of power plagiarize, people don't care, okay? Alan Dershowitz is a great example of this. The other example I will use is the Stanford president that was plagiarized or falsified information in his research, or even the likes of Neil Gorsuch. The standards for college professors and college administrators is actually quite bad for plagiarism. Okay? The people that then turn around and go, oh, well, what about plagiarism here? Okay? Or this person does not meet the muster of the excellence of Harvard, especially when it's like right-wingers that push for this narrative, is just completely frivolous, ridiculous, only brought forward in a manner to attack a person that you don't like. Okay? That's simply what I'm stating. I'm not saying I'm not saying plagiarizing is good. Okay? I hope you understand that. I'm simply stating that it is a lot more commonplace than you think, and many administrators, researchers would not be able to withstand extra scrutiny. Okay? However, who gets taken out due to accusations of plagiarism is very different. It's a very different battle. And as far as I understand, she didn't even plagiarize. They retroactively applied new citation rules to a non-applicable situation. Like, there are examples in Claudine Gay's plagiary that are improper citations of people that were already cited in the documents. It's like 47 different instances, many of which are completely ridiculous, and then some are actually questionable. Okay? My point simply is this. If you are saying like, oh, thank God we found a serial plagiarizer and like took her out of a position of power, okay, you're kind of gullible. Not even kind of gullible. You're either doing it cynically, which many on the right are, or you're simply very gullible and you got by right-wing reactionaries once again. I do not like Claudine Gay. I think she was bad. Okay? I thought that her mishandling of Palestinian protesters on campus was reason alone, if I had a magic wand, for me to fire her. I also personally don't really care about what goes on in Harvard in general. However, having said that, overall, the real reasons as to why this became a major story was because it was a perfect storm. Okay?